was you telling me the story that birthed the MIT.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do a video on all of that separately.
Oh.
Because I feel like that's maybe, I can talk about that, but I want to get into some of the you stuff.
Okay.
So let's go way back to the beginning and let's try to help people understand, because somebody might be watching this right now and be like, hey, I'm thinking about bringing my spouse into the business. I'm thinking about doing this together with them.
I would say, number one, just make sure that you can spend a lot of time with each other, and that if you're going to argue about work, which you're going to,
definitely going to,
because you're different people, right? And you just have different ways of looking at things, different perspectives, which is good. It's all good because that's needed and necessary in business. But also realize that you need to be able to compartmentalize that so that it doesn't take over your home life, family life, and that time that you have, or interfere with that relationship.
So we're recently married. We moved from New York, where I had started my real estate career, and we moved to a brand new market in North Carolina.
I had never done real estate. I had my own house cleaning business previously in New York when we moved. So I closed that. And we moved, it seemed like halfway across the country, even though it really technically wasn't. At the time, we were far enough away where you can just hop in the car and go see, somebody that you know, because we knew no one.
But when we first got started in real estate, what happened? Like, did it work when we first tried it?
Well, we tried a lot of different things. John already had his license, and then I got my license. So we started as a husband and wife team. I thought that was okay. Like, we would go on showings together. One of us would, prep the listing or prep the file or whatever before showings. And I think that people actually like that because we have different personalities.
Yeah.
And we brought different things to the table when looking at properties, analyzing them from different perspectives and angles.
I don't remember it that way.
No?
I remember when we first tried to do it together. So if you're watching this and you're not familiar with the DISC personality assessment, go back and watch my video on that. But I'm a high D with a good amount of I, and my wife is a high C with a good amount of I. So the I, we kind of like come together on that. Like, I think we're good when we're in front of people.
The big difference between the C and the D is I like to follow the rules and John works in the gray area.
Well, I don't know if it's about rules. It's just about getting the job done. And what I remember back early on is that you were so in the details that I felt like it was slowing me down and keeping me from doing what I felt urgently needed to happen, which was make some money. And maybe you're watching this right now and you're like, hey, the market's changed, contracts are down, and I really need to make some money right now. So just kind of know like what each other's strengths and skills are. And to what you said before, compartmentalize. I know you were referring to like work, home life balance, but also compartmentalize the duties.
Right.
What ended up really happening for us is like we started to work together. It didn't really work out great. And then we were expecting and you kind of like took the role of, staying home and getting Jane,
Basically what happened is life happened, and that kind of put us into different roles than we were previously. And as luck would have it, those roles naturally suited our personality types. So John was out with the clients, and then I stayed home and I was doing more operational system, accounting, like bookkeeping, accounting, taking care of files,
contract to close.
Yeah, contract to close, that sort of thing. Which is really right in my wheelhouse. Like,
and that worked really well.
Yeah,
and we just kind of stayed in our own lanes that way for the next few years. And really, like, we were super blessed and fortunate, like our business exploded. Mm-hmm. And then once we had a team and an office and ultimately our own company, that's when we really came back together, I think, side by side, because there was enough going on in the business at that point for us to be side by side in the business, but still be in our own lanes, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So when you're first trying to get your first few transactions a month, you might feel like you're stepping on each other's toes a little bit. But once it becomes big enough where there's 20, 30 transactions a month, you can really have
maybe you're already at that point and that's why you're bringing your spouse in, is because you need that support and help because there's too much for you to do on your own.
What else? What other lessons did we learn that our audience might benefit from? I feel like one of the things that you did really well that I probably didn't even understand when it was happening, how important it was, but you were really good with client events.
Yeah.
So like maybe talk about that. Like what were you doing client event wise, and like what was that doing for our business?
Yeah, so we started out, I think that our first client event was the pumpkin pick. We've done multiple different kinds of events, but the two that stuck for us was we would do an annual pumpkin pick at a local farm, and you can do it. I know agents in other markets that aren't in a rural area; they're in a city, so you can have a park. You can rent a space at a park. You can have an order of pumpkins dropped, and then just have them out in a field or in the grass or whatever. We were lucky that there was farms. Yeah, there was farms right around us, and we utilized the farm. So they had a lot of different things going on there. And but anyway, I would say be proactive in planning. I usually would book my venue right after the previous event. It's October. We had our pumpkin pick, usually the first weekend of the months or second weekend of the month, depending on when Halloween fell. So that people would have their pumpkins obviously for Halloween and be able to carve them with the kids and that sort of thing. And couples did it too, or just friends, if there was like single clients, that sort of thing. Anyway,
it was cool though. Like, we had the pumpkin pick at the farm, and like we invited all our past clients and all the clients we were working with. They come out, they have an experience.
Yep.
That's what you're really trying to do with your client events, is you want to have an experience for them. And I think the most important thing about events is that they're consistent. So what happened for us is that we did it at the same time of year every year, and people look forward to it. They made it like an annual thing. And if you
we did it at the same place, then we did our pies. We handed them out for Thanksgiving. And so people depended on that. That's going to be their, part of their Thanksgiving meal. And they know it's one less thing they have to worry about doing and making.
We're dropping this video right now in the spring. And like for many years, we did a spring barbecue. Mm-hmm. And it was at a, beautiful like farm, but like wedding venue type of place, mm-hmm. which can be a little competitive when you're competing for venues where weddings are also. So just know that you may have to book a year or more in advance. But that was an amazing event. And like people would come out, and we would balance sort of like the fall events with the pumpkin and the pie giveaway with some events in the spring as the market's heating up.
Yeah.
What would you say, like looking back, what would be something that you would have done maybe differently, if anything?
Well, after the first few years, I did hire an event planner that started to help us. Yeah. So that was helpful. So I wish I had maybe done that a year or two earlier. Mm-hmm. That would have definitely been helpful. I would say having more like online presence, I mean, we did this over the course of 15 years, so obviously the way that we invited people and that sort of thing changed over time, but having more of a system kind of around that.
So helped. Thinking about the roles that you did, running the operations of the office and managing the staff and employees, what's something that was like your biggest pet peeve? Maybe not something you could have done differently or gotten away from, but like just be real with them. Like, what are some of the things that you really like didn't like about the running a real estate company?
I mean, it's a small business like any other. A lot of times you're the first one there and you're the last one gone. So maybe
very true.
Maybe having a little bit more, like a support staff person for myself that was like dedicated to me, not like I would utilize our transaction staff. So we had like a listing coordinator and a closing coordinator on the buyer side, and so I would usually pull them in to help me, but having maybe a part-time, we did start utilizing some interns at one time, which was really helpful during the summertime. We would have students that were possibly interested, in a business major or in real estate even, or sales service industries. And they would come in and help. But
I think when I look back, one of the things that caused me pain, and I wasn't even doing it because you were doing it, would be, in a real estate team, unless you're doing, 500 or more transactions a year, you generally have one person in each role that runs the company. So you got one office manager, maybe one buyer coordinator, one listing coordinator, one courier.
One person doing both of those.
Yeah. And if any of those people leave, there's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And what that gap would often do is it would suck you in,
right.
And you would be that new person, whether we had plans for vacation and you'd have to train again.
I think outsourcing
is good.
Is good, having that as something that you're definitely utilizing.
And also just really defining what those processes and systems are going to be. And if you don't have processes and systems, like, I encourage you to shortcut that and get a coach or a mentor, somebody who's already done it, who has those systems in place that you can borrow, and then just really training people up and recording what that is. So utilizing video, utilizing things like Loom, and recording the video of you training the person, so that the next time somebody comes in, they can watch the videos first, and that'll do the heavy lifting for you. And then you can step in, because my gosh, if you hadn't have been there to step in all those times when there was transition, like, I wasn't going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I was out busy selling and recruiting and all that stuff. So, you know, that's something that, looking back, I think we got through.
One change that we made, which I actually heard you talking about the other day, which is interesting. We were a small, independent brokerage, but operating as a team. So we had previously been a team with Remax, and then we went independent, and we basically kept like a lot of everything the same, how we worked and operated, handed out leads, those sorts of things, did our marketing and that and such. But previously at Remax, they would handle the commission checks. Yeah. And then we became an independent brokerage. And so we hadn't really like thought about the processes that were going to surround that. And so what was happening is, they'd have to turn in the check by like a certain time to get it paid that day or whatever, so on and so forth. Anyway, long story short, I was doing commission checks for agents whenever they came. And then I was doing payroll for our staff once a week, because they got paid every Friday. And what I came to find was that I'm already doing payroll once a week for our staff members. I said, we need to tell the agents that I'm processing checks once a week. Like, that's it. And I know that they're used to getting them all the time around the clock, but they're going to have to turn them in by this day, by this time every week.
So let's kind of back up. If somebody out there right now is paying out commission checks whenever there's a closing, that was just a pain point for us. So if you have a pain point like that or any other, what's important is to stop, analyze what the problem is, and then build a new system with an ideal outcome. So for us, the ideal outcome would be, hey, let's just pay checks once a week. Now, the agents might not like that, but if I deliver it correctly and I explain, hey, we're spending all our time, we could be doing more marketing, could be better for the company, better for you guys. Right. Let's do this. Let's get all of our files in by our weekly meeting on Tuesday. And for every completed file that's turned in by Tuesday, you'll get paid on that Friday. If another file comes in Wednesday, Thursday of that week, Friday, whatever, get it in by next Tuesday and you'll get paid that Friday. And if anybody's in a situation and needs the money right away, no problem. Come see me personally and we'll take care of you. Because we never want to like impact people negatively. Right. But what we found is that by explaining it that way and then offering a solution that involved them being proactive and coming to us and asking, I think that might have happened once or twice in like 10 years. Right. So, they'll just get used to it.
It made it more like they weren't coming to me all the time saying, did you get the check? Did you get the check? When am I going to get paid? When am I going to get paid? So all these like got a minutes that would happen throughout my day and interrupt me and what I was trying to do, or the actual processing of the check, which was again, just, it came in, let me get right on it and do it. Like I'd have to drop everything. So anything like that in your office that you find that's creating Gata minutes is what we called them. Try to create some sort of a system or method around them to help you be able to stay focused, because we all get distracted easily.
And ultimately what we ended up doing is we ended up implementing Traction EOS, which is a whole like small business operating way to operate and systemized way to be, where we could take all those Gata minutes and we could solve them on a weekly basis so that they wouldn't happen in the future or wouldn't happen as frequently. And really what I wanted to do in this video, and thanks babe for joining me.
Yeah.
It's nice.
My pleasure.
I think is just give you guys a little bit of like an understanding of, hey, we're real people that ran a really productive, successful real estate company. And we learned a lot along the way. And we just want to give you a little flavor of like some things that come up that you might be dealing with. And if you drop a question in the comment, we'll both happily answer it from real world experience on how it worked for us. So if you're going to
do a video on it.
Yeah, maybe do another video on it. That's a good idea. Let's do that. So if you're going through something right now and it's just a pain point in your business, a challenge, and you feel like it's impeding your ability to grow and scale, drop that in the comments. We will try to help you solve that. Most cases, we've probably already dealt with it or, have a system around that. And we'd love to share it with you.
I would say every system that by the end of,
almost 20 years
of 20 years, what was birthed out of something that happened, an instance that came up, a problem we had, something that was like not clarified, that a question came up from a team member, or we were like, we don't want that to end up that way ever again.
Yep.
Let's create some sort of boundary around it. And it's just, you're never going to have it all figured out. There's always going to be things that come up. So don't try and be perfect. That's something that I think was always my person. I'm like, how do we not have like a system or a process around this? And, but then you just create one, know, it's like, and it's good. You learn and you keep adding to it and adding to it. And
all right, we're going to end this video with, what is your favorite quote when it comes to business?
Well, I never lose. I either win or I learn.
There you go. My favorite quote is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So with that, guys, go get it. Let us know how we can help you. And we appreciate you watching this video.